Well, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why.
I have been on a bit of a flight tonight. I started out with MacArthur's blended Scotch. Then I went to Johnny Walker Double Black, followed by a Johnny Walker Green Label, which went very well. And from the Johnny Walker Green Label, I went to, I believe it was a Macaloni's Among the Heather, which is a whiskey that was bottled locally but vatted in Scotland, I think, with the likes of Blair Athol and Clynelish and things like that in there. Now that I've had those 4 drams, I'm on my 5th. This one is the Prohibition from Cutty Sark Prohibition blend. And you may have noticed that I'm going higher and higher in the alcohol content. I'm working my way up to this guy here. This is a 17-year-old Caol Ila, unpeated. And what I'm going to do is pour myself a dram of this. There's the bottle. And I'm going to pour myself a dram of this and let it sit for, about half an hour while I enjoy my Cutty Sark Prohibition. And I will put this in a dirty glass, which last held some Macaloni's. Oh yeah, we got to look for the C-shaped thing. It's been so long since I opened up an actual bottle with a cork that I almost forget how to do it. I was almost going to twist the top off because I've been going bargain basement lately. Inexpensive whiskeys that have a twist cap. And of course, I broke the foil while doing this, so I'm being a klutz. And I'm going to, well, let's cut some of that there and get the foil again. And I break it again. Oh, am I ever bad? Come on, get in there. Get this foil off. Now I got it. Now I got the foil off. What's interesting is that I have had probably 3 bottles of the 12-year-old Caol Ila, but I've never made a review of it. And here I have this 17-year-old unpeated Caol Ila. I will remedy that situation eventually. I'm going to go back to all the whiskeys that I've had but never made reviews or never made videos about, and I'm going to go back to them. So while this one sits here and opens up, well, folks, it's time to pour another dram. I have here a dusty bottle of Macaloni's TWA Cask Series Islay blended malt Scotch whiskey. It is a blend of Caol Ila and Bunnahabhain, and it's a blend from Caol Ila and Bunnahabhain distilleries in Islay, and this is one bottle of 918 in existence. And so that's all of these that will ever be made. This is a vatting. I guess it was vatted either in Scotland or in Canada and bottled in Canada by the distillery nearby called the Victoria Caledonia Distillery. Now, I've had a few drams already. I started out with a MacArthur's blended Scotch. Then I went to Johnny Walker Double Black. Then I had a Johnny Walker Green Label. Then I had a Macaloni's Among the Heather, which is another one from this same to take a look at the bottle. From the same people. And I also had a prohibition from Cutty Sark. And now I'm about to try a Caol Ila 1997. No, that's not correct. 17-year-old Caol Ila. That's this one here. But first, while I'm going to taste the Caol Ila, I'm going to let the Macaloni's Islay blend sit and open up. Ooh, that was a tight plastic cork. Or is it a composite? I think it's a plastic coated composite. Anyway, let's pour this one here into a dirty glass that has had a few other whiskeys in it. There we go. That's going to be our Macaloni's Islay. I think it needs to open up. Maybe I'll put just a little more in there. Okay, I'm being generous tonight. I'm being quite generous. And so I'm going to put that over here so that I don't get mixed up with what I'm doing. And this is the one we're talking about right now. This is the Caol Ila 17 Unpeated. It's got a no car and no pregnancy on the label right there. No car and no pregnancy. So you won't get pregnant from this, and you shouldn't be driving a car. Okay, so it says here on the label, Caol Ila Islay single malt Scotch whisky, aged 17 years, unpeated style, natural cask strength. The most unusual unpeated Islay single malt, the limited edition natural cask strength Caol Ila, distilled in 1997. Oh, it was distilled in 1997. Well, what do you know? Has been aged in ex-bourbon American oak barrels, clean and fresh as the pale sky that follows clearing rain. Its intense flavors dance boldly across the tongue, like flecks of foam over wind-lashed waves. There's a bitter, sweet warmth in this fruity, rounded, and mouth smooth drinking malt, which has an appetizing salty edge. Bottled in 2015, Caol Ila Distillery, Port Escaig, Isle of Islay. 55.9% alcohol by volume. So this is quite a whopper. And what else does it say about this? I might as well go for the whole thing here. It says here, each expression of Caol Ila reflects a special quality of the light at this remote Islay distillery. Together they picture a day in the secret cove on the Sound of Islay, the most unusual and interesting unpeated Islay single malt. This natural cask strength Caol Ila 17-year-old from ex-bourbon American oak barrels is the only Caol Ila to use unpeated barley. Made just once a year, it is prized by blenders. Although an Islay malt, they sell it Highland style. The nose is reserved and fruity and sweet and dense with balancing freshness, warming smooth and sweet palate, distinct saltiness, herbal dryness soon develop, lead to a long warming finish. Adding water unusually clarifies the aromas as fruitcake, wood smoke, caramel, salt on a sea breeze, while on a tongue it's lightly waxy, sweet, and still salty. Now with a mineral edge and peppery, deliciously mature, and the most rounded in a series of releases. Aged 17 years, Oh, it's got more writing on here. American oak barrels, rounded mature character, clean and fresh. I've seen that before. Okay. 55.9% alcohol by volume. That's what it says on the box. That will have a prominent place back on the wall back there somewhere. Okay. Well, I'm getting already something that resembles tar. Something vegetal and tar. It's a little bit meaty, like bacon. Also, it resembles the smell of the cosmetic aisle at the pharmacy. I don't know why, but that's what I'm getting out of it. So there's something meaty like bacon, something cosmetic-y like now I'm getting the influence of the bourbon barrels. There's a certain sweetness, a certain what I can describe only as sourness, fruity apples. Along with apples, perhaps some pears. Just flip that up a little bit. There we go. Now you can see a little bit more of the room and a little bit more of the tower back there. Definitely apples. Red apples, red delicious apples. There's still something that reminds me of tar in here. Fruity. A hint of salt. The same salt you get out of Laphroaig. There is some cotton candy, a little bit. Along with the fruit, there's a maritime thing. Definite saltiness. And still, I'm getting quite a hint of tarry peat. Even though this is an unpeated style, I'm still getting some tar. Some of the tar that you get from Laphroaig. Wait, what else? Marshmallows. But don't forget that this is bottled at a high ABV of 55.9. So, part of what I'm getting is probably just what's left after the whole thing has been acting as an anesthetic on my nose. That's just what I get neat. I think maybe tasting it neat would be a good idea, but I'll have a little sip of water first. I mean, this is after all my 6th dram tonight. And I've been working my way up in the way of alcohol content. This is quite pleasant. I'm getting some faint bourbon kind of notes, like the ubiquitous caramel and vanilla. However, they're quite muted down probably by the high alcohol content. Let's give it a taste. Neat. Ooh. This is quite dry. Dry and astringent. It just dries the mouth right out. High alcohol content. Red apples, red delicious apples. Some pear. The rest is just alcohol. It needs some water. How much did Ralphie put in it? Was it 2? I know Ralphie just did this one recently. 2, we'll try it with 2. Even though I did pour generously to begin with. Maybe because I poured generously, I'll give it 3. 3. Okay. We should get some Scotch mist. We should get some Scotch mist developing in there after a moment or two. Go for the water again. Okay. Now, oh, that's much tamer than it was. Oh yeah. I'm getting something nutty. Resembles hazelnuts to me. It's not too strong now. I brought it down a lot. I'm getting the oak. It's still quite dry. It's astringent. I'm tasting oak. A little bit of bitterness from the oak. Fruitiness. Still red delicious apples and pear. I hope I didn't drown this thing. Maybe I did. There's a bit of bitterness from the oak. Yeah, it's very woody. Very woody now. Lots of oak. It's like chomping on toothpicks and nuts. Hazelnuts. What else am I getting? It's just very drying. without the water added, it's the alcohol content that carries it. Now that I've added enough water to bring it down to about 40% alcohol by volume, it's a lot like an Altmore in that it's subtle. It's like Altmore 12. Very subtle. Subtle, woody, a little bitter from the wood. I'm getting a touch of salt, or as Horst Learning would call it, the remembrance of salt. There's a sea spray thing going on. A little bit of, is that iodine? I'm not sure. Do that again. It's very dry. My mouth is getting dry. Oh. Wood again. Lots of that. That same hazelnut kind of flavor. And bitterness. Very dry. Maybe it would benefit from some peat, which is interesting because it smelled really tarry at the beginning, like the same tar you get out of Lafroig, and I didn't get that on the palate. I didn't get any of that tar on the palate. And now, when I tried it neat, it was very drying, very dry. And now it's still very dry, even with 3 teaspoons of water. I'm getting, once again, some pears. It's a lot like Altmore at the beginning. I think maybe it needs to open up as well. Even though I let it sit for half an hour, maybe I'll try 17 seconds in the mouth for the 17 years that it's been in the bottle. Okay, let's go. Correction. 17 seconds in the mouth. Although I gave it about 20, 22 for the years it's been in the oak. Definitely getting a lot of oak there with the fruits. Dry, astringent. I'm gonna hold back on making a full assessment of this one, just because there's a lot of that astringency and a lot of that oak flavor, and not so much in the way of fruits. I don't know if I drowned this one particularly. I don't think so, considering it's just one of these pure bourbon barrel aged whiskeys like you'd get from the Highlands or Speyside. And maybe Ralphie was right. It is missing something. Maybe that something is a little bit of the peat. Okay, well, the next one I'm going to do has some Caol Ila and Bunnahabhain in it, and it is bottled at 56.7, which is a little more than this one, which was at 55.9. And that one is obviously peated. That's going to be interesting to see the difference. But now that I nose it again, I get tar. Ah! What a beguiling little whiskey. This 17-year-old Caol Ila. What did I pay for this? Well, now it is the 12th of November. Back in 24th of June, so July, August, September, October, well, 4 months ago, 4.5 months ago, I paid for this privilege $149.97, and including all taxes, $172.47. Grand total, $172.57 for this particular bottle, and that was on the 24th of June. Now, I'm of a mind right now that this might not have been worth the price of admission, but I'm going to give it a chance to oxidize. And maybe someday I'll come back to it and give you a reassessment after it's opened up somewhat. Now it's getting cloudy. See? It's getting cloudy. That's the Scotch mist. It's unchill filtered and it's not colored. Yeah, there's your Scotch mist. There you go. But what I think about it, I'm almost missing the peat and or sherry that could be in here. I think going to say slanchava to all of you and have yourselves a good night. I've got one more to do tonight, and I look forward to it very much.
Food quick.
Food quick.
Food quick.
Food quick.
Food quick.
Yeah.